My mother accuses me for taking away her soulmate and refuses to meet my kids. My name is Rachel, and I'm 31 years old. I have two beautiful daughters, Emma and Lily, ages 4 and 6. I have a husband who loves me. I have a job I don't hate. I have a house with a backyard where my kids play on sunny afternoons. I have a life that looks normal from the outside. But 3 days ago, my mother sent me a text message that made me throw up in my kitchen sink. The text said, "I hope you're happy. You stole the only man who ever truly loved me. You ruined my life because you couldn't handle discipline. Don't bother inviting me to anything anymore. I have no interest in meeting the children of the person who destroyed my happiness." I stared at that message for 20 minutes. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped my phone twice. My husband David found me sitting on the kitchen floor, and he didn't even need to ask what happened. He just sat down next to me and held my hand. This whole thing started 8 years ago when I was 23. But really, it started much earlier than that. It started when I was 11 years old, and my mother brought home a man named Marcus. I need to tell you about Marcus because you need to understand what kind of person he was. What kind of person he still is, actually. He's out of prison now. Been out for 2 years. But I'm getting ahead of myself. When Mom first introduced us to Marcus, I thought he seemed okay. He was tall, had this deep voice that made him sound important, and he made my mother laugh in a way I hadn't heard in years. My parents had divorced when I was 8, and my dad had moved to Oregon with his new wife. I saw him twice a year if I was lucky, so it was just me and Mom for a long time, living in our small apartment in Columbus, Ohio, barely making ends meet. Marcus had money. Not rich person money, but stable money. He worked in insurance sales and drove a nice car. Within 3 months of dating my mother, he moved into our apartment. Within 6 months, we moved into his house in the suburbs. It had 4 bedrooms and a finished basement. I got my own bathroom for the first time in my life. Mom was happier than I'd ever seen her. She quit her second job at the diner. She started wearing nicer clothes. She smiled all the time. I was 12 when things changed. It started small. Marcus would make comments about my appearance, about how I needed to stand up straighter, how I was getting chubby and needed to watch what I ate, how my hair looked messy. My mother never said anything. She'd just laugh uncomfortably or change the subject. Then came the rules. So many rules. I couldn't watch TV after 7 p.m. I couldn't use my phone at the dinner table. Then I couldn't use my phone in my room. Then I couldn't use my phone at all except for emergencies. I had to ask permission to eat snacks. I had to show Marcus my homework every single night. And if I got less than a B on anything, I'd lose privileges. My mother said he was just trying to help me become disciplined. She said I should be grateful that he cared enough to push me to be better. When I was 13, Marcus started coming into my room at night. He'd sit on the edge of my bed and talk to me. Just talk at first. He'd tell me that my mother was stressed and I needed to be better behaved. He'd tell me that I was lucky to have a roof over my head and food in my stomach. He'd tell me that he was the only father figure I had and I should show more respect. His hand would rest on my leg while he talked, over the blanket at first. Then under it, I told my mother. I was 13 years old, terrified, confused, and I told her what was happening. She said I was imagining things. She said Marcus was just being a parent. She said I was being dramatic and attention-seeking because I was jealous of her happiness. The physical abuse started not long after that conversation. I say physical abuse instead of the other word because YouTube has rules, and I want to be able to tell this story. But you know what I mean. You know what happened to me in that house, in my own bedroom, while my mother slept down the hall or worked late shifts or went out with her friends. It went on for years. I was too scared to tell anyone else. Marcus had made it clear what would happen if I did. He said no one would believe me. He said my mother would hate me forever. He said he'd make sure I ended up in foster care where much worse things would happen to me. And part of me believed him because my own mother hadn't believed me the first time. I survived by disappearing into myself. I got good at leaving my body when things were happening. I got good at acting normal at school. I got good at pretending everything was fine. But when I turned 17, something shifted in me. I don't know exactly what it was. Maybe I was just tired of being scared. Maybe I was tired of feeling powerless. Maybe I realized that I only had 1 more year until I turned 18 and could legally leave. I decided I needed proof. I used my babysitting money to buy a small recording device online, the kind that looks like a USB drive. I hid it in my bedroom, in different spots, places where it could pick up audio but wouldn't be noticed, between books on my shelf, inside a jewelry box I never used, behind a picture frame. I recorded everything for 4 months. Every time Marcus came into my room, every conversation, every threat, every single thing he did to me. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Knowing it was being recorded somehow made it worse, more real. I couldn't disappear into myself the same way because part of my brain was always aware that there was evidence now, that this was being documented, but I kept doing it. I kept recording. I also started keeping a journal. I wrote down dates, times, details. I took photos of bruises when there were bruises. I saved text messages where Marcus would tell me what time to be home, what to wear, what not to say to my mother. When I had enough, I didn't tell my mother. I didn't give her the chance to explain it away or defend him or call me a liar again. I went straight to the police. I was 17, years and 9 months old when I walked into the Columbus Police Department with a backpack full of evidence. I had 3 USB drives with recordings. I had my journal. I had photos. I had everything organized in folders like I was presenting a school project. The officer at the front desk took one look at my face and called for a detective. Her name was Detective Linda Morrison. She had gray hair and kind eyes, and she sat with me in a small room and listened to everything. She didn't interrupt. She didn't look at me with disgust or disbelief. She just listened. Then she told me I was very brave. She told me I'd done the right thing. She told me that what happened next might be hard, but that they were going to help me. I didn't go home that night. Detective Morrison arranged for me to stay with a crisis counselor. Within 48 hours, Marcus was arrested. Within a week, the recordings had been reviewed by the district attorney. Within 2 weeks, he was formally charged with multiple counts of child abuse and related crimes. My mother finally believed me then, not because she listened to the recordings, advice. She refused to listen to them. She believed me because she had no choice. The evidence was undeniable, but she didn't believe me the way you might think. She didn't apologize. She didn't cry and say she should have protected me. She didn't ask me if I was okay. She was furious with me. She screamed at me on the phone that I'd destroyed her life. She said I'd ruined everything good she'd ever had. She said Marcus was innocent and I'd somehow fabricated the evidence. Even though there were literal recordings of his voice, she insisted it wasn't what it sounded like. She hired a lawyer to defend him. She showed up to every court appearance sitting on his side of the courtroom. She glared at me from across the room while I testified. I turned 18 during the trial. I moved in with my friend Amber's family. They'd known me since middle school, and when they found out what happened, they didn't hesitate to take me in. Amber's mother, Patricia, became more of a mom to me in those months than my own mother had been in years. Marcus was found guilty. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison. The judge said some words about how my bravery in coming forward might help other victims find their voice. I didn't feel brave. I felt exhausted and hollow. My mother sent me one text after the sentencing. "I will never forgive you for this." I didn't respond. I changed my phone number the next day. I didn't have contact with her for 8 years. I finished high school while living with Amber's family. I went to community college. I got a job as an administrative assistant at a medical office. I met David at a friend's barbecue when I was 25. He was kind and patient, and he made me laugh. I told him everything on our 4th date, and he didn't run. He stayed. We got married when I was 27. We had Emma when I was 28. We had Lily when I was 30. I built a life. A good life. A safe life. And then 3 weeks ago, I got a Facebook friend request from my mother. I stared at it for days. I didn't accept it. I didn't decline it. I just let it sit there while I tried to figure out what to do. Then she sent me a message. You can message people on Facebook even if you're not friends. It said, "Rachel, I know it's been a long time. I'd like to talk to you. I'm getting older and I've been thinking about family. I heard through your cousin Jennifer that you have children now. I'd like to meet them. Please consider giving me a chance." I showed David the message. He said it was my choice, but that he'd support whatever I decided. Amber, who's still my best friend, said not to trust her. Patricia, who I still visit regularly, said I should follow my heart but protect myself. I thought about it for a week. I talked to my therapist about it. Yes, I've been in therapy since I was 18. It's helped a lot, but some wounds don't fully heal. They just become scars you learn to live with. Eventually, I decided to respond. I told myself that maybe she'd changed. Maybe 8 years and some age and perspective had made her realize what she'd done, what she'd allowed to happen. Maybe she wanted to apologize. I was wrong. I agreed to meet her for coffee. Just the two of us, neutral location, public place. I didn't tell her my address. I didn't tell her where I worked. I was cautious. She looked older. She was 56 now, and she looked every year of it. Her hair was mostly gray. She'd lost weight, and not in a healthy way. She looked tired. We ordered coffee and sat down, and I waited for her to start. She said, "You look good. Motherhood suits you." I said, "Thank you." She said, "I wanted to see you because I think enough time has passed. I think it's time we moved forward." I asked her what she meant by moving forward. She said, "I mean putting the past behind us. What happened with Marcus was unfortunate, but it's been 8 years. He's out now, you know. He served his time. He's trying to rebuild his life." I felt something cold settle in my stomach. He's out? 2 years ago. Good behavior. She said it like it was a positive thing, like I should be happy about it. I asked her if she was still in contact with him. Her face got defensive. Of course I am. "Rachel, he's my partner. We're still together." We got back together as soon as he was released. I couldn't breathe. I literally couldn't catch my breath. The cafe suddenly felt too small, too hot, too loud. "You're still with him," I said. Not a question. A statement of horrified disbelief. "He made mistakes," she said. "But he's changed. Prison changed him. He's been going to therapy. He's a different person now." I stood up. I was shaking. "He didn't make mistakes, Mom. He committed crimes. Against me. Your daughter. For years. People were starting to look at us." My mother's face flushed red. "You always were dramatic," she said. "This is exactly why I wasn't sure I should reach out. Marcus said you'd react this way. He said you'd never let it go." "You've been talking to him about me?" "Of course I have. You're my daughter. He wanted to know how you were doing. He feels terrible about everything, you know? He wanted me to tell you he's sorry." I laughed. It came out harsh and loud and bitter. "He feels terrible? He wanted you to tell me he's sorry? Mom, do you hear yourself?" She leaned forward, her voice getting sharp. "I hear myself fine, Rachel. What I'm trying to say is that I want my daughter back in my life, but not if you're going to hold grudges. Not if you're going to keep living in the past. Marcus is part of my life. He's always going to be part of my life. If you want a relationship with me, you need to accept that." I grabbed my purse. "I need to leave." "Rachel." "No." I cut her off. "I came here thinking maybe you wanted to apologize. Maybe you wanted to acknowledge what you let happen to me, but you're still choosing him. After everything, you're still choosing him. He's my soulmate," she said, and her voice cracked. "You don't understand what it's like. What you took from me. Those years he was in prison, I was alone. I lost my home because I couldn't afford the mortgage without his income. I lost my friends because everyone believed you instead of listening to both sides. I lost everything because of what you did. Because of what I did, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was a child. I was your child. And he was hurting me. And you didn't protect me. You still aren't protecting me. You're protecting him. It wasn't as bad as you made it sound," she said. "The lawyers said you exaggerated things to make sure he'd go to prison. All that recording and documenting, you were building a case like you were trying to destroy him." "I was trying to survive," I said. "I was trying to make someone believe me since you wouldn't." I left. I walked out of that cafe and I got in my car and I drove to Amber's house because I couldn't go home yet. I couldn't face David and my daughters until I'd calmed down. I sat in Amber's living room and cried for an hour while she held me. That was 3 weeks ago. I blocked my mother on Facebook. I blocked her number. I thought that was the end of it. But then she sent that text 3 days ago from a different number. The one about how I took away her soulmate. The one about how she won't meet my kids. And here's the thing that's been eating at me. I don't want her to meet my kids. I don't want her anywhere near my daughters. But some part of me is still that little girl girl who needed her mother to choose her, who needed her mother to believe her, who needed her mother to love her more than she loved a man who hurt her child. That little girl is still in there, and she's grieving all over again. But I'm not just that little girl anymore. I'm Emma and Lily's mother now, and I will always choose them. I will always protect them. I will always believe them. David suggested we talk to a lawyer about getting a restraining order, not just against my mother, but against Marcus too. Because if she's been talking to him about me, if she's told him I have kids, if she's told him where I might be, then he knows things about my life that I never wanted him to know. That thought terrifies me. I've spent 8 years building a safe life, and suddenly I feel like it's all at risk again. Yesterday, I filed for the restraining order, both of them. The hearing is in 2 weeks. I also did something else, something I haven't done in 8 years. I called Detective Morrison. She's retired now, but she gave me her personal number back when the trial ended and told me to call if I ever needed anything. She remembered me immediately. She asked how I was doing, and I told her everything. About my mother reaching out, about Marcus being out of prison, about my fears. She was quiet for a moment, and then she said something that made my blood run cold. Rachel, I need to tell you something. Something I probably should have told you years ago, but we had no proof, so I couldn't include it in the case. I waited. Marcus had another victim. Before you. Another girl when he was in his 20s. She came forward during his trial, but the statute of limitations had run out, so we couldn't charge him. Her case was similar to yours. Very similar. Her mother was also his girlfriend at the time. I felt dizzy. What happened to her? She tried to tell her mother too. The mother didn't believe her either. She ended up leaving home at 16 and lost contact with her family entirely. The trauma was significant. She paused. Rachel, men like Marcus don't change. They find vulnerable women with children, and they exploit that vulnerability. Your mother fit his pattern perfectly. Single mom, struggling financially, desperate for stability and love. He targeted her, I said slowly, understanding dawning. He targeted her because of me. Yes, and he'll do it again if given the chance. He's already grooming your mother to accept him back into that role. If she has access to your children, she didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. I thanked her for telling me. I hung up the phone and immediately called my lawyer to add this information to the restraining order application. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I wrote my mother a letter. Not an email, not a text, but a physical letter that I mailed to her address that I got from my cousin Jennifer. I'll tell you what I wrote because it's important. Mom, I need you to understand something. Marcus didn't choose you because you were special or because you were his soulmate. He chose you because you had a daughter. I wasn't the first child he hurt, and if he's around any other children, I won't be the last. The detective on my case told me there was another victim before me. Another girl with another mother who was his girlfriend. He has a pattern. You were part of that pattern. I was the target. He didn't go to prison because I exaggerated or because I ruined his life. He went to prison because he committed serious crimes against a child, against multiple children. The evidence was overwhelming because the crimes were real. You can choose to believe what you want about him. You can choose to stay with him, but you cannot be part of my life or my children's lives while you're making that choice. This isn't about holding grudges or living in the past. This is about protecting my daughters the way you should have protected me. I hope someday you'll understand that. But whether you do or not, I've made my peace with it. I have a family now who loves me. I have a husband who would never hurt our children. I have friends who show up when I need them. I have a therapist who's helped me heal. I have a life that's good and safe and full of love. You could have been part of that life. I was willing to give you that chance. But you chose Marcus instead. Again, so this is goodbye. Not because I hate you, but because I love my daughters too much to risk exposing them to someone who couldn't protect me. I forgive you for not believing me when I was 13. I forgive you for choosing him during the trial. I forgive you for the years of silence. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. And it doesn't mean giving you access to hurt another generation. Please don't contact me again. Please don't try to find my children. If you do, I have a restraining order ready to file. Take care of yourself, Mom. I really do hope you find happiness someday. But not with him. Never with him. Rachel, I sent that letter 5 days ago. I don't know if she's read it. I don't know if it will change anything. But here's what happened yesterday that makes this whole story worth telling. My cousin Jennifer called me. She was crying. She said my mother had shown up at her house with my letter, hysterical, asking Jennifer to explain to her what Marcus had done wrong. Jennifer, who's known me since we were kids, who knew something was wrong all those years ago but didn't know what, sat my mother down and made her listen to everything, every detail, every piece of evidence from the trial, every statement from the other victim who came forward, and then Jennifer did something incredible. She told my mother, Aunt Lisa, I love you, but if you stay with that man, you're not welcome in my house anymore either. My kids are not going to be around him. Rachel's kids are not going to be around him. You need to choose. My mother left Jennifer's house without saying anything. Jennifer didn't know what she'd decided, but this morning I got a phone call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered it. It was my mother. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her at first, but eventually I made out the words. I told him to leave. I kicked him out. He's gone. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I listened to Jennifer, she said. I went to the courthouse and I looked up the trial records. I read everything. Rachel, I read everything. The transcripts, the evidence lists, the victim impact statements. I read what you said, what the other girl said, what the psychologist said about him. She was sobbing. I don't know how I convinced myself it wasn't that bad. I don't know how I let myself believe his version. I think I couldn't face the truth because if I faced it, then I'd have to admit what kind of mother I'd been. What I'd failed to do. I sat down on my kitchen floor. Emma was at school. Lily was at preschool. David was at work. I was alone in my house, listening to my mother finally acknowledge the truth. I'm so sorry, she said. I know that's not enough. I know sorry doesn't fix anything. But Rachel, I'm so sorry. You were a child. You were my child. And I failed you in the worst possible way. I was crying now too. Not because I was happy. Not because this fixed anything. But because I'd waited 18 years to hear hear her say those words. He's really gone? I asked. I made him leave this morning. I'm filing a police report about the things he said when I told him to go. Threatening things. Jennifer's husband came over to make sure he left. I'm changing the locks today. She took a shaky breath. I'm going to find a therapist. Jennifer gave me some names. I need to understand how I got here. How I chose him over you. How I could have been so blind. Good, I said. That's good. She hesitated. Can I ask how you're doing? Not to be part of your life. I don't deserve that. But just, are you okay? I thought about lying, but I'd spent too many years hiding the truth. I'm better than I was, I said. I have bad days still. Probably always will. But I have a good life, Mom. I have people who love me. I have 2 little girls who will never wonder if their mother believes them. I made sure of that. I'm glad, she said, and she sounded like she meant it. I'm so glad you found that, even though I wasn't part of giving it to you. We talked for 20 more minutes. Not about reconciliation or meeting my kids or being a family again. Just about facts. About where I worked, in general terms. About Emma and Lily's ages, though I didn't tell her their names or what they looked like. About David's job, in vague terms. She told me about her job as a receptionist at a dental office. About the apartment she'd have to move to now that Marcus's income was gone. About how scared she was to start over at 56, but how it felt necessary. Before we hung up, I said, I'm glad you kicked him out, but I need you to know that this doesn't mean we're okay. This doesn't mean I trust you or want you in my life right now. Maybe not ever. I don't know yet. I understand, she said. I don't expect anything from you, Rachel. I needed you to know that I finally see it. I finally see what he was. What he did. What I let happen. And I'm going to spend whatever time I have left trying to be better than that. Okay, I said. And then I hung up. I don't know what happens next. I don't know if my mother will actually stay away from Marcus. I don't know if she'll stick with therapy or if this is just a temporary moment of clarity. I don't know if I'll ever let her meet Emma and Lily. I don't know if I'll ever feel safe enough to have her in my life in any meaningful way, but here's what I do know. I protected myself when no one else would. I gathered evidence. I got a predator sent to prison. I built a life on the other side of that trauma. And now, 18 years after it all started, 8 years after the trial ended, my mother finally said the words I needed to hear. It doesn't heal everything. It doesn't erase the years of pain or the nights I still wake up from nightmares. It doesn't give me back my childhood or the relationship with my mother that I should have had, but it's something. It's a crack in the wall she'd built around herself. It's an admission of truth, and maybe that's enough for now. Last night, I sat with David after the girls went to bed, and I told him about the phone call. He asked me how I felt about it. Complicated, I said. Relieved, angry, sad, hopeful, scared, all of it at once. That makes sense, he said. You don't have to figure out how you feel right away. You don't have to decide anything about your mother right now. He's right. I don't have to decide anything yet. This morning, Emma asked me if I had a mommy. She's at that age where she's figuring out how families work. I told her, yes, I have a mother, but we don't see each other. She asked why. I said, because sometimes grown-ups make choices that hurt people. And when that happens, sometimes we need space from each other. Like when Lily hit me and had to have a timeout? Emma asked. A little like that, I said. But grown-up problems are more complicated. Will you ever see her again? Emma asked. Maybe, I said. I don't know yet. Emma hugged me and said, I'm glad you're my mommy. And right there, in that moment, I knew I'd made the right choices. All of them. Recording the evidence. Going to the police. Cutting my mother off when she chose Marcus. Protecting my daughters by keeping them away from her. I did what I had to do to survive. And then I did what I had to do to thrive. My mother lost years with me because she chose a predator over her daughter. That was her choice. Those are her consequences. If she truly has changed, if she truly has kicked Marcus out and is seeking help, then maybe someday, years from now, when Emma and Lily are older and I've had time to see if her change is real, maybe there could be something. Some kind of relationship. Something small and careful and boundaries. But that's not today. Maybe not this year. Maybe not for several years. Right now I'm focused on my life. On my daughters who will never doubt that I believe them. On my husband who shows up every single day. On the family I chose and the family I created 8 years ago. My mother said she would never forgive me for sending Marcus to prison. Today, she finally admitted I did the right thing. That's not nothing. But it's also not everything. And I'm learning to be okay with that. Learning that I don't need her validation or her apology to live a good life. I already have a good life. I built it myself. The restraining order hearing is still scheduled. I'm not canceling it. One phone call and one conversation don't erase the threat. If my mother continues to stay away from Marcus, if she continues to respect my boundaries, maybe in 6 months or a year I'll drop it, but not yet. Protection first. Always protection first. Because I learned the hard way that believing people can change and staying safe aren't mutually exclusive. You can hope someone becomes better while still locking your doors at night. That's where I am right now. Doors locked. Hope cautious. Life moving forward. My name is Rachel. I'm 31 years old. I survived something that should have destroyed me. I turned evidence into justice. I built a life worth protecting. And 8 years after my mother said I ruined her happiness by sending her boyfriend to prison, she finally admitted what he really was. It doesn't fix everything, but it's a start. And sometimes a start is all you get. Thanks for sticking till the end. Subscribe for daily updates.